Hey everyone, want to know the difference between the cannabis industry and the cannabinoid industry and why you should care if you're an investor heading into 2022? Find out now in our latest podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dales Report. Happy to be joined with Eric Adams, CEO of InMed Pharmaceuticals, back to the podcast. Happy holidays. How's things?
Things are great. Happy holidays to you too and all your listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate you having me on. 2021, about to cap things off. What a year it's been so far. I know it's been pretty busy for you guys, but lots on the go. But if you had to put it into a couple words, how would you best describe the year that you just had?
Pretty phenomenal from a results standpoint. So, if just over a year ago, we listed on the Nasdaq, if people remember, and so it's been a very busy year trying to establish a lot of the foundations of the science that we have, from our clinical trials to some of the preclinical studies that we've been conducting with 088. And of course, as you know, we spent a good portion of the year going through diligence and ultimately acquiring Bay Medica, which is a manufacturer of rare cannabinoids located in the U.S. So, no rest for the wicked. It's been a very busy year, but I think we have a lot of really good things in place that we can build on in 2022.
How excited are you for the overall industry? Because you and I have talked in the past about the direction this is going, the momentum it's building, and we will get in specifically to what you've done over the past year. But if I'm an investor looking at this, moving forward into 2022, have we really turned the corner as to where this is going to go?
Yeah, I think we are turning the corner right now, right? I think people need to kind of separate in their minds the cannabis industry itself and what's happening with cannabinoids.
Right.
If you think of cannabinoids, there's two kind of aspects that we cover. One is the health and wellness space, where we are manufacturing and providing raw materials to people who then incorporate those into their end products, such as creams or gummies or whatever they want to commercialize. So there's that aspect to it, and then there's of course the pharmaceutical side of things, which continues to gain momentum. We kind of straddle both of those worlds. We have nothing to do with the cannabis world per se. That's a whole different group of companies. But from the health and wellness sector, I think things continue to expand. There's new rare cannabinoids coming to the market all the time. So I think the foundation is set that you'll see some pretty significant growth over the next year. On the pharmaceutical side, our programs are going great. We continue to advance those both in human clinical trials and in preparation for human clinical trials. And interestingly, I think most people are aware that Pfizer just recently purchased Arena, which had some cannabinoids in their portfolio, cannabinoid pharmaceuticals in their portfolio. So, I think there's a high interest right now, and it continues to grow, and I think we're in a really good position.
It's great. Let's start with your recent news on your glaucoma program. You just had a peer-reviewed article published evaluating, the use of cannabinol or CBN as potential treatment for glaucoma. So it appears to be obviously important. So give us some details on the study and recap of the purpose of the program for investors.
Sure. Well, let me start by just saying a few words about glaucoma itself. So glaucoma is a set of conditions that lead to blindness ultimately due to a number of different factors. But one of the key ones is that the eye overproduces or poorly drains fluid in the very front of the eye. This additional fluid exerts pressure through the eye. Now, the pressure itself can be painful. But more devastating is what it does to the nerve cells at the back of the eye that are responsible for giving us vision. So over time, this constant pressure deadens those nerve cells, and it leads to irreversible blindness. So you need to keep both of those things in mind when we talk about our INM-088 program, which is using cannabinol or CBN as an eye drop to treat this disease. So what we found from these early preclinical studies, including both in vitro and in vivo studies, is that CBN has a dual effect in this disease, or the potential for a dual effect in humans. And first of all, it can reduce the intraocular pressure by facilitating better drainage of this fluid that's building up at the front of the eye. So if you can get rid of that fluid, everything kind of returns to normal. But additionally, CBN goes to the back of the eye, to these neurons at the back of the eye that are responsible for vision, and it proactively protects them. It extends their survival, both under normal circumstances. So just, if you gave it to someone, it would help extend the survival of those neurons, but also under elevated pressure situations, which you would see in glaucoma. So it's a really interesting finding, and that's the basis of one of our patents that we filed. Now we have the data in the public domain, and I think it's a really interesting read. Of course, it's very scientific, but I think it's really going to lead to broader discussion about the role not only of CBN, but of other rare cannabinoids in treating diseases.
Well, to have the article published, as I see it, obviously, you're getting validation from a scientific community that adds, obviously, credibility to your research, does it not?
Absolutely, yeah. So, we could have put this data out in the public just on our website, some time ago, but to submit it and to have a number of, experts, scientific experts, review it and ask questions about the data, asking us to, maybe massage a different statistical analysis in order to further validate what we found, is a very important process in the scientific community. So now that we've had these experts review what we've done, it just adds some extra validity to it.
Yeah.
And now with this publication out there, of course, any number of people can read this, and who knows what that might lead to in terms of business development.
Yeah, I was going to say, you explain the importance of the publication for potential partnerships. So as you look to advance the program, when could we possibly see eventually human trials?
Yeah, so we're looking about broadly said, about a year out from now. So we have some additional work we have to do this year.
Okay.
We have to do some advanced toxicology studies just to show the safety profile of this compound. And, through interactions with the FDA, which are planned, we're going to get more feedback in terms of how we're designing this program. But, roughly said, about a year from now, we'll be looking at submitting what's called an investigational new drug application, or an IND, to the FDA, seeking permission to enter human clinical trials.
How many people would say in North America, do you know, that are affected by glaucoma?
The number that comes to mind is, around 80 million worldwide. I don't have the specific number for the U.S. So it's a very big indication.
Wow.
And so that's in stark contrast to what we're doing on the dermatology side, where we're treating epidermolysis bullosa, which is a rare skin disease, with very few patients worldwide. But we think we could bring significant benefit to where that's going to be a very interesting commercial opportunity. Compare that with glaucoma, which is, almost 100 million patients.
Yeah.
It's a huge indication, and the opportunities from a commercial standpoint are much, much larger. So it's a very attractive program for us to be involved in.
Well, I wanted to educate some of the viewers that are watching this. In addition to the publication, we look back at the full year. The highlights include, as you announced, industry-leading yields through your IntegraSyn manufacturing approach. You completed your phase 1 and commenced phase 2 clinical trials in the treatment, as you just said, with EB, which is a skin disorder. As mentioned earlier, you announced the glaucoma program. And finally, the most significantly, which I wanted to ask too, is the closing acquisition of Bay Medica, becoming a leader in the manufacturing of rare cannabinoids. So when we look at this past year, and I know it's been a busy one, what are key milestones? Like, how does this set you up going into 2022, and key milestones that investors should look for in the upcoming year?
Yeah, there's a number of different, very interesting things that that we've done over the course of this last year that I think have set us up well for 2022. So let's talk first of all about the Bay Medica acquisition. So what we acquired with this company is, number one, a revenue stream that we think we can significantly grow through the introduction of more rare cannabinoids into the health and wellness space. Secondly, we have an amazing team of biotech and pharmaceutical guys who have been around the block, who understand a lot about the R&D side, especially on the manufacturing R&D. We also acquired with Bay Medica a suite of patents, one of which is looking at analogs. So if you take the original cannabinoid molecule and you add a different group onto it, a different chemical group, what you can do is you can elevate its physiological effect, you can increase its safety, you can increase its ability to be delivered to specific tissues. So they have a very interesting, very broad patent that looks at these analogs. And so what that gives us as a pharmaceutical drug development company is the opportunity to go into this, what I call a treasure chest, and find the biggest gems of which new cannabinoids we should be researching for different diseases. So we got a lot out of this acquisition, and on all fronts, that really sets us up for success in 2022.
What kind of relation? Go ahead, continue.
No, I was going to go on to the pharmaceutical side, but if you had a question about BayMedica.
No, I was going to ask just more about BayMedica in general, but how long's the company been around for? Like, how did you get your eye on them to begin with? And like the relationships, when we talk about revenue, maybe explain a little bit more as to what their history is and why it made sense, obviously, for this acquisition.
Sure. So I think they've been around about 6 years. I think they were founded 6 years ago by 3 co-founders, one of whom I had known years ago. He was a venture capitalist in San Diego, and with a previous company of mine, we had a lot of interaction. I didn't know that he had gone into cannabinoids as well, and so we kind of ran into each other and just started discussions. And about a year ago, a little over a year ago, we established a research collaboration between the two companies, where they were investigating our Integris manufacturing platform, because that's something that they were really, really expert at. And we began looking at their analog library of cannabinoids to find potential hits for pharmaceutical drug development, which is what we're really, really good at. So it's just a natural fit. And then over the course of the year, as we talked more and more, we just both saw the opportunities of bringing the two companies together and forming, really a company that has a leadership position in all things rare cannabinoids, both on the health and wellness space as well as in the pharmaceutical space. So, they have launched already and scaled up one rare cannabinoid called CBC.
Okay.
I'm sure that we are the global leader in the manufacturing of this compound. That was launched a couple years ago, and revenues were modest. They remain modest. It's a new rare cannabinoid that not a lot of people know about, so the market has to figure out where its place is in the health and wellness sector.
Yeah.
Number two, with the pandemic, that certainly kind of tampered down a little bit the ability to go out and kind of have a hard push from a sales and marketing standpoint. But it continues to grow the revenues. But what we have in place now for the first half of next year is launching additional rare cannabinoids, which we know there's already a very high demand for. These are cannabinoids that people are constantly trying to source and put into products, and that includes
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's two in particular. One is CBD-V, which is the variant of CBD, and THC-V, which is a variant of THC, but it's non-intoxicating. So we think that there's a tremendous market already for those, and we think that we'll be launching our products into a very high demand situation.
What do you hear every day as CEO of a company that gives you the idea that there's a high demand for it? Are there examples that you could share that gets people excited?
Yeah, I mean, both CBD-V and THC-V have been looked at in earlier clinical trials by other companies. And so there's a lot of data out there as to where they might play a role in health and wellness. I've gotten calls over this last year from people saying, I will buy all the THC-V you have. They didn't even ask me the price. And I said, well, look, I don't make that yet. Call Bay Medica. Maybe they're closer than I am. And so, just in general conversations with people who are, the end product manufacturers and marketers to this segment, they all are looking for these two compounds to put into their products. It's
great. Seen some healthy volume trading over the past month too. So obviously the Nasdaq uplisting. Do you feel like now that you've been involved with a year now that it's starting to take fruition, and as we know, more eyes, more institutions, and maybe actually more coverage that'll take place potentially into the new year? But what has that meant to the overall health of the company moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bumpy transition for sure. I think maybe we didn't do the best job communicating why we felt it was necessary, and that may have spooked some investors. But it gives us access to a much broader audience of people who are able to invest, not only on the private investors, but also on the institutional investors.
Yeah,
we had a lot of conversations over the years with U.S.-based institutions who said, we love the story, but you're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange or the OTC, and we can't trade there. That's just a barrier that we can't get around. So we just wanted to position the company in all facets for success, and that's what we think we've done. We think it's a tremendous platform for us now to be listed there. We have some really good analyst coverage, and I expect more in the coming year. I just think we have all the foundational pieces in place for this to really take off.
It's great. Listen, enjoy your holiday season. Appreciate the update. Job well done this year. I know it's been busy, but I think investors need to understand this takes time, right? It takes time, Eric.
It takes time. I think we're excited because, we understood all along that the pharmaceutical timelines and costs are drawn out, and the costs are very high. And that takes a specific kind of investor. But now that we've added on this revenue stream, which we think will be very attractive in 2022, and the opportunity to participate in this, burgeoning health and wellness sector, I think that positions us very uniquely. There's not a lot of people who are doing what we're doing or positioned the way that we are. So we hope we can attract the right set of investors to the story.
Do you think we're at this stage right now? There's just a major shift going on in the scientific world where there's so many different medicines and medications that are being researched that we're on the verge of changes in more ways than one?
Well, certainly the use of natural compounds has grown a lot in the last decade, and CBD being an excellent example with what GW Pharma has been able to achieve.
Yeah.
What we're finding more and more is, we've learned better about how to evaluate these compounds and how to move these through the system for evaluation and ultimately approval. And that's kind of on both sides of the equation, both the health and wellness as well as on the pharmaceutical side. So I think it's going to continue. There's no slowing down. There's 140 different naturally occurring cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We have looked at maybe 8 to 10. CBN was very attractive for a number of reasons in both of the indications that we selected, but that's just 10 that we've looked at. Now there's not only the others that are in the plant, but now we have this whole family of analogs that we think will be very active physiologically. They could be important in treating certain diseases. And on top of that, we will own the patent rights to these new analogs. No one can hold the patents to the naturally occurring compounds, but for these analogs, we're going to own the patents to the ones that we develop. And of course, that adds to their attractiveness from a business development standpoint, from 100%. A partner standpoint.
100%. Appreciate the update. Wish you and your family a happy holiday season, and we'll catch up with you in the new year.
Great. Good talking to you, and have a great holiday season.
You too. Thanks, Eric.